book started with extending the ideas that Alok's already alluded to, that the long-term effect of the partition has not been addressed adequately in mental health discourse. This is at many levels. One is that the services got fractured. The only large mental hospital in the whole of northern India was the Lahore Mental Hospital, and that got splintered. For many years, there was no hospital in northern India as such. The thinking about what happens to people who face this kind of uprooting of their social and civic life is obviously affected. But most importantly, there was a very systematic targeting of medical services to destroy a sense of civic life and continuity. And that destruction of the hospital, the targeted killing of doctors, of patients in the wards, of attacking people who were the most disadvantaged, gave rise to a particular kind of loss of faith in society which persists to this date. In another way, people were aware of this in the 40s and 50s itself. In the 40s and late 30s and early 40s, psychologists in different places, from Allahabad, from Calcutta, from Bombay, were already warning about the psychological distancing which was being produced, and that it would not be a good idea and would take years or decades for this to heal.
He and I have a friend in Pakistan called, I won't take her name, who has been speaking for a very long time about the schizophrenic relationship between India and Pakistan. That is, that the relationship between the two nations is a psychologically charged, psychologically distressed, in a way, relationship. And in some ways, I think that this is the hidden life of both nations. And as long as that hidden life remains hidden, there isn't going to be a resolution of this. The other interesting thing is, of course, that Pakistan doesn't have any interest in partition at all. All the years that we have been trying to work in it, there was, it's not an issue, the creation of a homeland. So partition is an Indian preoccupation.
During the Teen Murti Fellowship, we actually talked to a lot of people who worked with the partition, and so there was somebody who used to run the Kashmiri Gate camp, and his experience of the Kashmiri Gate camp was that this was a wonderful place, that this was full of resilience, that this was people who came from the Punjab and with energy, enthusiasm, vitality dealt with every obstacle that came their way. So when I asked him, was there depression, was there suicide, was there alcoholism? And he said, no, there was none of this. They were actually, the Punjabi is a very, very resilient person.
How differences are articulated?
Yes.
So that is something we got to be aware of, that, and then how is that difference played out? There may be violence, there may not be violence, but the way it's played out.
So I think this is a larger project that we are working on. It's a two-book project which we are looking at rather seriously in terms of how Gandhi is represented in a public sphere, particularly in English language newspapers and presses. And so it's very interesting, and we're looking at what is shared about him and what he shares about himself through the prayer meetings. So this is part of that larger project, and this is, as I said, the first, when Alok was having his seminars at Teen Murti, the first time that we started sharing. I don't know, Professor Nandi, you remember, you were there when we first spoke about it many years ago, you may not remember.
Somewhere around Jalandhar, these Hindu and Sikh women were brought back, so-called rescued, some with their consent, many against their consent, because they had to leave the children behind, who had been born in the meantime, and their families whom they were now attached to. Children, of course, couldn't come, but then many of them were pregnant. And it was around Jalandhar that, the government of India, and they did it officially, they allocated funds for it.
But they are a medical college.
They designated hospitals for it there, And one of those hospitals actually is still running in Delhi, who had a branch at that time. They, against the wishes of those women, aborted them. And because of the families refused to have them otherwise.
I grew up to be a teenager without even realizing what it meant to be surrounded by people who were partition refugees, because my own family had not suffered any because of partition. And we had this row of shops, all of them who had been given that space by the Maharaja to set up shops and to carry on their businesses. So they were, again, as we say, resilient Punjabis and everything. But this idea that, that they had suffered so much was never there. So one thing that I want to say is that somewhere there is this complete silence, as we say, also in behavior. It's not just a silence of not just speaking about it. It is also a silence of not really making anything apparent about it.